On this week's podcast, I speak to Elle Ferguson. Now, Elle is not just a global influencer, a fashion influencer, but she's also a beauty entrepreneur because she's launched her new business called the Elle Effect. So what are you going to talk about today, Elle?
I'm so excited to chat to you about where I started, a little girl from the Central Coast, and then how I kind of found my legs in Sydney, and then I worked super hard, and then I built the brand Elle Ferguson, and then from there I built the brand Elle Effect, and I'm actually telling you all about how that happened.
And what's cool about this is she tells us about how she was being an influencer, using her massive community to sell other people's products, and then decided, well, I can do this myself.
Yeah.
Do it up herself. And that's a great story. She's taking us from the beginning to the end. If you want to hear more about this, come listen to me, Mark Boris, at the Mentor on podcast1.com.au. Elle Ferguson, welcome to the Mentor.
Hi, thank you for having me.
And straight off a flight, are you?
Yes.
Where you been?
I have just been in Miami and LA.
And what are you doing over there?
So in Miami, I shot my third collection with Billabong, which was amazing because it's my third global collection with Billabong, which is just insane because they've never kind of done a collab with an influencer before, and this is my third one with them.
So this is you in the capacity as an influencer, or this is you in the capacity of selling your tanning products?
This is me as Elle Ferguson, so an
Elle
influencer.
Ferguson, as an influencer, okay.
Yeah.
So I want
Whilst wearing the Elle Effect tan.
So
it all goes together.
You had an opportunity, you might as well ramp it up. So I want to just talk to you a little bit about who Elle Ferguson is, and I want to go back a little bit. Clearly, you've put yourself in a position as being an influencer, and I want to talk to you, and our audience wants to hear how the hell you become one of these people. Mm-hmm. What's it take? How do you get 650,000 followers? Mm-hmm. That's a big deal, how long it took to do that. And then how you parlay that into a business called the Elle Effect. Mm-hmm. Let's go back to when Elle was at school.
Yep.
What was the deal? Are you from Sydney? Tell me about it.
No, so I'm from the Central Coast, so that's about 2 hours from Sydney, and I auditioned for a performing arts high school in Sydney, and I was the youngest student to ever audition and get into Newtown High School of the Performing Arts.
So what is a performing arts school?
So a performing arts, Newtown was, it wasn't private because there's a lot of privately funded performing arts high schools, but this was a public school, which a certain percentage of students that attended the school were selective. So it also sat as an area school, which, in hindsight was amazing because it was such a cross culture of kids that you got to grow up with and experience. But I auditioned because one of my teachers in primary school said she just doesn't fit in the box. Do you know what I mean? She loves performing.
In your school in the Central Coast?
Yes, a little coastal.
I know the joint.
Yeah, a little coastal beach school. I was school captain, so I was always kind of striving and achieving. But I did the audition and I got in, and it was a 2.5 hour commute from Terrigal to Newtown. And I did that every single day from year 7 till year 12. And
How the hell did you get from, I wouldn't even know how to get from
It was a bus,
Terrigal
a train, a bus and a walk. Wow. And my mum caught the train, did the commute with me for the first term of year 7 because I was 12. And then I did it, all the way through till year 12. And then ironically, I went to university as well and commuted as well. So
from Terrigal?
Yeah.
Did you ever think to yourself, maybe I should move a little bit closer?
I should have worked for the STA Travel or City Rail because I knew that timetable like the back of my head. But now that I work, I look back on that and think it put something in me that I knew that if I wanted it, I had to work for it. So I wanted to go to that school so badly because it was amazing. You know what I mean? It was one of a kind, and just the people that were at that school were so... it was just so amazing. Like, I felt like I could be me. You know what I mean? If you wanted to dance.
What does that mean, performing arts school? I don't know what they are.
Drama, dance, and visual arts.
But do you do English and maths and science
you
as
do
well?
all of that. And then after hours, you stay back and you do drama or
so
dance.
it's like those selective or what
Imagine
do you call
Glee
them?
or Fame.
Sport schools, but they just do extra sport.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So what did you audition for? Like, what did you do? Did you do a dance or something? Or sing?
Yeah, dance and drama. And then I did dance and drama through till year 10. And then I dropped dance because I didn't like it as much. And then I continued drama all the way through, as well as all my normal subjects that you sit for your HSC.
Yeah, drama as in acting.
Yes.
Yeah, and when you went to university, what did you do at university?
I began with visual merchandising.
Which means?
which visual merchandising is. It's like a design course, which is a lot to do with stores and how you, like marketing, like their windows and their campaigns and things like that. I did 12 months of that and I realized that I loved interior design and architecture. So then I did an audition for Enmore Design Centre where I had to sit a test and then submit a portfolio of designs. And then I got selected and went into that to Enmore and Design Centre, and I did that for 5 years.
And designing what, interiors?
Yeah, so interiors. So you could do interior decoration or you could do interior design and architecture. And I was really into the buildings and how buildings were built. And I used to love to hand draft and renderings and just how things got put together and how. And then there was a whole part of that course that was like on ergonomics of, the space you need for a balcony and the shadow that balcony gives to the building downstairs and, the buildings in the city, the shadow cast. It was I found it really, really interesting. And
so what that tells me though is you from an early age you had a creative streak in you, which is, I guess, lots of people have a desire to be creative, but not many people actually can draw. Because when you say rendering, you're talking about drawing. Yeah,
but I couldn't draw. Like, I can't draw. But rendering was very much done by, it was like line drawing. So it wasn't freehand. It was all very by your, you drafted. It was lines. You know what I mean? It was all in perspective. So there was there was a science behind it. So
right.
It's not like I'm going to go draw a tree. If I'm going to draw a building, then I've got to use my scale ruler and I've got to draw. It's all very methodical. Like, it's all very by the book. It's not as free. And I think that's what I realized, that it wasn't free and I didn't want to colour inside the lines. So I got to the end of the course and I was like, I don't think I want to like colour inside the lines anymore.
So because I'm actually intrigued. So would you describe yourself as a creative person?
Yes, 100%.
So, and does that mean that you're always sort of dreaming of or rendering in your brain, in your mind, in your imagination, scenes or just using your imagination to create things in your mind, and it doesn't necessarily flow down to your hand.
Yes.
But you know what you love or what you like to see or the way you want something to look.
Yes.
Is that
100%.
And is it always, or is it just about, was it just about interiors or is it about lots of different things?
No, it was always, I think for me, it always kind of came back to fashion and beauty. So I remember going to design school and everybody kind of wore black, like that was to fit in, you wore black, and I never wore black. I rocked up in, denim skirts and like bright coloured tees, and I'd had my hair done, and I just didn't fit the mould of that design student. I remember my drafting teacher grabbing my hand because I had acrylic nails on, which are fake nails for people that don't know, grabbing my hand and said, you can't do this course with those nails. And I was like, well, I'm going to do the course with the nails. And I did the course with the nails and I topped my class. So I feel like I never fit the mold when I was at design school, but I didn't let it bother me. And I think that's how I've kind of gone through life. I never really fit the mold of what somebody thinks you should be.
Because, I guess that thought process has had some impact on your success as an influencer and also your success in the Elle effect. And I guess to some extent too that families who see their kids just a little bit on the edge, not conforming at least, and also at the same time prosecuting the thing that they believe in, which is clearly what you did. You just gave an example of nails, but I'm sure that there are broader, deeper examples than that where you've actually prosecuted something you believe in, which someone has told you probably shouldn't do or can't do.
Yes.
And then what's really good about this is your parents probably encourage you, or at least your mum in this case, from what you're saying, encourage you to go to this school. Encouragement means actually putting your shoulder behind it and actually going to school with you for the first term on the train, the bus and every other thing. So how important is that in terms of the formation of Elle Ferguson? So how important was your mum's push, your mum's encouragement to get to where you are today? I mean, what do you think in those formative years? And I don't mean the years from 0 to 7. I'm talking about the years from 15 to 20.
Yeah, I think, huge. I mean, my mum always said I could do whatever I wanted to do. And she, as long as I didn't break the rules, and I behaved myself and I had manners, she was behind me 100%.
Yeah, but lots of people say that to their kids. You can do whatever you want. I mean,
she turned up.
That's
the
difference. Yeah, okay. Yeah. So, and the difference was, when she stopped turning up, what did she do then? I mean, why didn't you just say, oh, fuck it, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to wag or I'm going to go and have a smoke at on the train in Newtown, or I'm going to go, instead of going left, I'm going to go right.
Yeah.
And then I'll just go down the beach.
Yeah.
What was it in you that kept you doing it?
Well, because I wanted to succeed. And I think because I saw how much my mum had put into me. You know what I mean? Every morning she got up with me at 5 a.m. and made me breakfast. So I ate breakfast before I got on the train, and she packed my lunch. And I knew what she'd put in. She worked 2 jobs so I could go and do things. Do you know what I mean? I remember I don't want to disappoint her, you know what I mean? So I guess that's why I turned right instead of turning left, and I didn't wag and I didn't do any of that, because I wanted to make her proud, you know what I mean? And in that, I wanted to make myself proud.
So and I get that. So, you know, because it's a fine line between tipping over the edge and continuing on your path, especially when you're 18 and you're from Central Coast, you're from Terrigal.
Yeah.
You're in the city.
Yep.
Now in Sydney.
Yep.
It's a different environment.
Crazy,
And
yes.
not only were you in the city, you were in a school where you're probably going to get people who are outside the normal school mould.
Yep.
You know, you're going to get a few unusual people there because they're creative people, which, I mean, I shouldn't say that. It sounds like
No, it was amazing.
Make a broad statement, but I mean, it is the case.
Yeah. I mean, I remember in my sister's year, we had a guy start in year 7, and by year 12, that guy had turned into a woman, and we accepted it. It was amazing. And I mean, we were 13, but it was incredible to be exposed to this at such a young age, because you could be whatever you wanted to be. Do you know what I mean? The school was amazing.
And how did you then, you've gone through design school.
Mm-hmm.
How'd you get into becoming an influencer? I mean, take me down that track.
There's a lot of side hustle.
Yeah, well, tell me about the hustle. So you finished this school in Enmore.
Yeah,
it was 5 years.
Yeah.
Okay, so what happens when you come out of there? What job do you go and get?
Well, so funnily enough, at my end of year, you do an end of year exhibition that you open to the industry, and industry can walk through and look at your end designs, and you hope at that point somebody within the industry is going to offer you a job. And randomly, a girl walked through that worked for One Teaspoon, a fashion label company. Clothing. Yeah, she walked through and kind of saw a bit of flair in my renderings, my thing, and she said, hey, there's a job going at One Teaspoon for a visual merchandiser. And I said, well, you'll never believe this. I actually studied visual merchandising, for 12 months before I transferred to interior design. And so I went and did the interview at One Teaspoon in Redfern, in a place that was called the Pink Factory, which was all women, and they were making this incredible brand called One Teaspoon. And it was before that had blown up, and these were the days before the OC, when Misha Barton wore One Teaspoon on the show. It was just at the beginning of when it was about to explode. And I walked in there and I was like, oh my God, I want to be part of this world. This world is amazing. What do I need to do to be part of this? And they offered me a horrendous wage. And
horrendously good or horrendously bad?
Horrendously bad. Like, I was still living at home and commuting from the Central Coast to go to Redfern. I remember one day I had to be there at 4 a.m. and I was on a 1:17 train from Gosford to get there to do a shoot. But I wanted the job and I wanted to work for One Teaspoon. So I started there, and then I went into, somebody had seen my work at One Teaspoon from General Pants, which is another clothing label, and I got asked to do an interview to become the head of women's visual merchandising for the company.
At General Pants?
At General Pants, yeah. And then I sat for that interview and I got that job. And then I left One Teaspoon and went into General Pants, and that was just a whole world of amazingness. And that is where...
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
I'm sitting here looking at you, and you're an attractive looking girl.
Thanks.
Lady. How important does that play in getting yourself to stand out amongst the crowd?
Mm-hmm.
Because, fashions, if you can carry fashion yourself, that helps.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think that's an important thing? I mean, I'm not, because I will talk about that when it comes to Instagram, because I think it's important in Instagram.
I think I'd always, ever since I was a kid, I'd always gone with the motto, you've got to dress for the job that you have. You got to dress for the job that you want, not the job that you have.
Or just present for the job. That's everything. That's not just the dress. That's the hair, everything.
Oh, the whole package. Because I think, you set the tone. You set, like before you've ever met me and said hello, you've already made a judgment. So I would always make sure when I went to those interviews, I was the best possible version of myself. And I didn't have a lot of money. I remember the dress that I wore for my job interview at General Pants pants was 50 cents from Salvo's, but I'd cut it up and put it together differently. But I had that dress on, and I remember the owner of General Pants said to me, "Where is that dress from?" And I said it was 50 cents, and I cut it up and put it back together so it looked good. And it...
Yeah, but I mean, I could tip rubbish over you, still going to look good. So like... I think it's important. I mean, I think it's an important issue. We need to think about this. I mean, because people are going to say, "Oh, well," I know people say this. I've never looked at your Instagram before today, okay? Yeah. But I know people say this. "Oh, well, she's good looking and blah blah blah," and of course, she's got so many followers. Well, I'm trying to defeat that, okay? Yeah. So or reconcile it.
Yes.
So I want to know, how would you reconcile that? I mean, not so much on Instagram, but just going through life, being an attractive woman in the fashion industry, how do you reconcile that as an advantage? Because I think it is an advantage. And how did you work it? I mean, there's nothing wrong with using your assets, I'm not just saying you're just that,
no.
But let's clear that one out of the way now, because I know people will be critical.
Yes, well, they still are.
So how do we deal with it?
Yeah, well, I think it's actually been harder to be blonde and 6 foot and walk into a room and try to prove yourself than not being blonde and 6 foot. I reckon personally I've had it a lot harder because I've had to prove myself twice as hard. When I was at General Pants, which I loved and is still part of my DNA, the majority of people I worked with were men. And I had to prove myself to men. I would rock up at work sites and have to say, like, "Don't think I'm here legally blonde. I'm actually here and I'm the boss. So you need to listen to me." So I actually think, I might have got my foot in the door maybe, but then I've had to work twice as hard for what I've had.
But then when you do that, what you just said, work twice as hard and also deliver quality output. And if you're attractive, actually you get double. So you double them down. So in other words, they go, "Wow, she's pretty smart and she knows how to work and she's committed." And because before that they were judging you as, let's call it a dumb blonde or whatever. What did you say? Legally
blonde. Yeah.
That's that movie, is it?
Yeah, it's Elle Woods.
Okay, right, okay. So, what you did is you played it. I mean, because you're obviously confident enough that you can work hard. You know how to work hard because you just did it when you were at school. You just spent 5 years or something like that. So you knew.
And I knew I sold at General Pants, it all came down to numbers. And I knew what I would do in those stores would sell. So, you know what I mean?
And they got good product.
Yeah, great product. Yeah. But even when the product wasn't good, I could make it work. And that was one of my really good skills there, that I used to say I could sell ice to Eskimos.
So what do you say is, you've had this experience going from, and I think it's a great experience going to that school. I don't know, I'm not sure in terms of the product of the school, but I'm just getting from Terrigal to school every day and mixing with those sorts of people. And you obviously got some skills around merchandising. You have good experience in terms of fashion. You went and worked at General Pants, and after the first job you worked at, what was the first place called?
One Teaspoon.
One Teaspoon. You have to pardon me because I don't know the brand, but General Pants I do know. And then you stayed at General Pants for a period of time. So you've obviously, what skills do you think you got at that point? Apart from knowing how to work hard, apart from understanding fashion merchandising or merchandising in general, what other skills do you think you got out of it? What would you say you were strong at?
At that point with General Pants, we focused so much on the customer and what the customer wanted. And General Pants was also very reactive. So if we saw trends coming through, we had to react to it.
Pre-Instagram.
Pre-Instagram. So you're talking about when I was at General Pants, blogs were starting. So there were no blogs in Australia. There was very few. It was overseas that we'd look at. So there was a lot of the Swedish girls. Yeah, the Swedish girls, the London girls, the American girls. And the thing that I learnt the most at General Pants is that you could change. You know what I mean? Like we would change things. You could be reactive. You could, hang something from the ceiling.
But where'd you get the data? Because today we get the data immediately, but where'd you get the data on those days?
The data was from our sales reports. Every Monday we would do a 2-hour meeting and we would go line for line, store for store, what's working, the sell-through on windows. So in my department, you would put a window in for 4 weeks and then you would need to know the return on those items in the window plus the investment of the window. So we'd do a sales meeting every Monday.
Which is the sort of stuff we do when we analyse our data that comes through on our social mediums, et cetera, right?
Yes.
But it's just a different platform or different protocol today,
but
it's the same deal. It took a lot of time and it took a lot of effort. So, but it required you to sit down and actually analyse the data, grab the data, analyse the data, and then make a decision.
There was a department head for every pretty much category: women's bottoms, women's tops, women's accessories. So there were a lot of people, and I couldn't access that data myself. I would have to go and email somebody or ask somebody and then get it for that Monday meeting.
So how did you then take all of that and become someone who's a fashion influencer?
So whilst I was at General Pants, I started a side hustle, which was known as They All Hate Us, which was a blog. And it purely started as a montage of images that inspired me. You know what I mean? I had covered walls at General Pants with pictures, and then once I covered all of the walls, I needed somewhere to house these pictures. And it was when blogs were kind of bubbling at the surface, but we didn't really know what they were. And it was literally a place to put images for people to look at, because in my department being visual, people would come to me and go, hey, you know, how should I style a white t-shirt? And I'd be like, oh, well, look up on that board. There's a girl that's tied it and ripped it. Let's try it like that. So They All Hate Us started. And then from They All Hate Us, Instagram kind of came alive and people wanted to know who was behind They All Hate Us. So Instagram kind of popped up. And it's so funny because I actually had a BlackBerry. I wasn't even on an iPhone. I loved a BlackBerry because I could do my emails and I could look at Excel. I was a BlackBerry person and refused to go to an iPhone. And my sister said there's this really cool thing called Instagram on iPhones. I was like, okay. And she was like, it's where you can take photos of yourself and put up photos. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I swapped over and got an iPhone, and I didn't actually understand how Instagram worked at that point. I gave myself a name called Black Nightingale because I liked a Black Nightingale handbag. I didn't understand what it was when I started it. And then I quickly changed my name to Elle Ferguson and then started posting photographs of myself of what I'd wear to work. And I was against a wall at work where I literally took my outfit of the day. And then all of a sudden, I just started getting this traction and it started to grow and grow.
How many years ago was that?
5.
5 years ago.
Yeah.
So would it be fair to say you got in early?
Yes, 100%.
That's pretty important, isn't it?
Yeah, I think where it is now is, and I look at my community, and a lot of my community has really been with me from the beginning and seen the journey. And I think that's what works about my story, is because people have been with me since I took those photos against the wall at work. You know what I mean? And they've been part of everything, and they've invested in me.